Sat Nam, everybody. We decided to do a little Q&A with you, Atma and Pritam and myself. We are going to be holding a KRI certified Kundalini Yoga teacher training in September. And we thought we'd just give you a little taster of some information around the training and about ourselves. So we thought we'd start with a question. What is a memorable moment for you on your teacher training, Atma and Pritam? So is there something that stands out as a memorable moment, transformational moment, insightful moment on your own training when you were doing the training, taking it, a student in the teacher training?
Sure, it's so long ago.
Yes, exactly.
But for me, the beautiful part was a sense of belonging, that I could say, right, I'm a bona fide yogi, that was a very, very nice feeling, because yoga itself accompanies us through so many ups and downs of life, but it's also like a touchstone, something that has a certain stability and stands there as a witness, and it did take that place. Yeah.
I think for
Mahatma
me,
Atma.
my actual training was with you, Pritam. I think it was in about 1999 or 2000, I'm not too sure. But that was a very, very active, changeable, good, bad, very, very full time of my life then. And I honestly do not remember very much for that reason. I've just sort of wiped it out. But what I do remember very, very acutely is when I went to Española, to the headquarters, as I call it, as a trainer in training to be a teacher trainer. And that was enormously challenging. But as Pritam mentioned, it is that sense of, oh my gosh, this really is a community effort, this. That's what stands out for me, and was vividly so that was in 2011. So I think I concur with that, Pritam, that you have that sense of, yes, I think I can belong here. It's a certain homecoming.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Well,
And Patiwanti?
At my first Kundalini yoga class was with you in 1999, and so maybe that was the year you did the training, 99. And then I think I did mine in 2001, and also with you, Pritam Hari Karkalsa. So that was a very pertinent time for me. It was a time where I lost my daughter's father. It was a very traumatic time. And I remembered that feeling of being held. I remember
Sure.
on the day that he passed, we all chanted for his
Sure.
passing. And it was a real crossroads for me. It was like leaving one part of my journey behind and embarking on a spiritual journey. And I gained through the teacher training a spiritual practice that has carried me for 24 years, and without this practice, I don't know. It's been pivotal on my journey and in my life. So that was a memorable moment for me. Our next question is, what is a highlight for you now teaching the teacher training? Like Pritam, I know you've been training for 27 years, and I know, you trained with the master of Kundalini yoga, and you are now known as a legacy trainer. And you are, to us, the mother of Kundalini in South Africa. And, we've all gone through the training with you in some way, shape, or form here in South Africa, and obviously the places you teach globally. What is a highlight? What stands out for you over all these years in terms of watching people go through the training and holding them?
Thanks for the question. When I started training, I also had a little bit this imposter syndrome feeling of I'm suckering people into something, and I'm pushing them, I'm pushing their boundaries. And it was in many ways deeply uncomfortable for me because I was going by a very particular script. And in that script, I was well-meaning, I was saying I have to be true to whatever it is I have to be teaching. But there were many times when I felt that the way we teach can be overwhelming to the other. And over the course of time, my very abiding feeling is that we are just awakening something in the other that is very deep and very pre-existent. And if I'm a yoga teacher trainer and a person is in the training, I can be a facilitator to help birth and give words and form to something that already exists within them. So I feel very, very comfortable. I feel very honored. I feel a bit like, we are doulas of getting something to come into form through the training. And if we did not have this form, us as trainers and the emerging teacher, we would be lesser. We would be deprived on some level. So I feel very wonderful about helping another person bring about their own love for yoga. And there was one more thing I want to say. Yes, it's also around holding space. So, both as teachers and as trainers, we learn something around the art of holding space. And holding space also is making manifest something that may be perambulating in the space. And if I read that correctly, it can apply to a conversation with a loved one, a conversation with a frenemy, with a friend enemy, somebody with whom you have a difficulty. It can relate to your partner, to your child. How do we be appropriate and sensitive to what exists in the space? So it spills over from yoga to other spaces in life. And as yoga teachers, if we are worth our salt, we both push a little bit and then step back and watch the fallout, somehow. I mean, we both push and step back, we're both a little confrontational and then also go like, okay, hands off, shanti, shanti. So yeah, all those things, I can still say that there is something passionate for me around the training and helping to awaken that. And I've also learned that yogis come in all forms and shapes and sizes, because we are made as colorful as the Most High wanted us to be. So, yeah,
Beautiful.
that's it.
Thank you.
I'm remembering how I felt when I started teaching. I was so in love with the yoga that if anybody happened to even just casually say, "How are you doing? What are you doing?" I would chew their ears off for hours, telling them about this new way of doing yoga, because I had been teaching hatha yoga for a long, long time. And I think that is what gave me a kickstart, and sort of getting over the initial, I felt responsible, very responsible, to have to be teaching Kundalini yoga in all its actions. There's it's not just sort of having a list of asanas that you're going to do and then just running through them. It's so much more than that. And I think that as a person in training to be a teacher is perhaps one of the daunting aspects of it, of sitting down on your mat, tuning in, bringing up the topic, having your playlist ready, having your Kriya ready, all of those things that you have to learn that seems to be terribly complicated to begin with. But you know what? As a teacher, I believe that we never stop learning. Never. There's always newness to it, to the general subject of Kundalini yoga. It's so generous in what it offers. And we just I've been doing it now for 30 years? Pritam's been doing it for much longer than that, right? And yet it's always this sense of there's so much more to learn, there's so much more to explore and be taught. So that's my feeling. Patwant?
And I mean, we do give a very, very good foundation on all the technicalities, how to teach it correctly. I mean, truth be told, that's what we do. We give all the tools so one can deliver and discharge this art like properly. So I take a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah, so I reiterate what you're both saying, really. I love on the teacher trainings just witnessing that transformation, and how through the training the yogis need to dissect the Kriya, learn the process of how to teach and hold a Kundalini yoga class, and to just watch that blossoming and watching people become more confident through their teaching. Because on the teacher training, when we do this particular training is a hybrid training, we start with online, but then we do have a 10-day residential. And this is where we work with all the practical aspects of the actual practical process of teaching and teachers teaching and getting feedback where we all give feedback. So I love that, and that sense of community that you were both talking about. We practice sadhana every morning, and just that cohesion and that sense of deepening deep into yourself, really, and just witnessing that process. I absolutely, it's an honor to watch that and also be holding space for that. Not on my own, but with you two.
Yes.
And each
Such a
group
joy.
dynamic is completely different. So that also makes the teaching different, because you are also reading the space and the energy. And I also find that every training is subtly different. It's the same structure, but energetically subtly different. And the flow may change and adapt. And I love that fluidity that we have in that, trusting the flow and in meeting the space in that way. I find that empowering.
It'll be a very beautiful time. I really look forward.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that, I wanted to also maybe reflect a little bit on our team dynamics, and I appreciate the delight and the absolute reverence that you bring to the art, Atma. you know, you are eternally delighted with what you do, and you have an artist's eye, you know, when it comes to yoga. You are very graceful and elegant in your approach to it. There is a certain quality that gets distilled over time. And with Patwant, I always see you as dyed in the wool. You're like very deep yogi, you know, like since forever and a lifetime and 10, you know, like you have a very, very deep and very um um particular and very authentic and very, very deep sacred approach to the yoga. So, you know, a great honor to be in this configuration with yourselves.
Thank you, Pritam.
Thank you, Pritam Harikar.
I always I always look to what poem is Patwant now going to pull out of her head, you know, like some sutra that you're going to pull out that's just going to, like, you know, bring it all together. It's very beautiful. Very good to be in your company, you know.
Well, ditto for me. And yeah, Pritam, I mean, I sent you a voice note the other day just saying thank you and deep bowing gratitude for holding this space for 27 years. I find is no small feat, and you've really done that. And energetically, you've held this yoga, well, not only energetically, but I feel it energetically for all this time. And I know that is not a easy thing to hold or carry, but you have, and you've been so consistent. And also I find that you are, you know, fluid and open to change, you know, to the this yoga is evolving. I feel like we in a flow, in a field of this yoga, and I love the feminine energy, and we bring that through, and that we are all honoring of the lineage. And so thank you for that. And Atma, I find you just completely inspirational. You know, you are an inspired teacher. You bring that you know, you've inspired thousands of yogis over your 30 years of teaching, you know. So it's a great honor for me to be teaching with both of you. You are both my teachers, and as Atma says, you know, we are always learning, and it's always evolving. And yeah, join us, you know, join us for the training. If this is something you've been thinking of doing, perhaps this is now, you know, it's a yoga that carries you through time and space, and it's always evolving, and I find it always relevant, and it just gives you a rooted sense of self and soul in these transformational times. You know, it really does. And that's why I think, you know, it's relevant.
I think,
and you should come.
Join us if it resonates.
Hey, listen,
Join
the
us if it resonates.
I think for me, there's always been that sense of safety. Many years ago, I started to assist Pritam on the trainings, and it was a frightening experience because Pritam knows everything on a very deep level. And you have to bow because she has this huge brain. She's incredibly clever, and she expresses herself always very eloquently. But behind that, or underneath it, or on top of it, all of it, is that Pritam has this huge capacity to be able to carry Kundalini yoga in South Africa and beyond. You know, I mean, it's a big deal. This is why we call her the mother, you know, because she is. She's mothered each and every one of us teachers. through the process. The process for me has been to discover that through those teachings, to know who I am, to know that being able to teach this yoga, all yoga, but particularly this one, is truly a God-given gift. That is not just about teaching a class, it goes directly into one's personal life. And I've been through pretty rough times, as we all have and we all must. But there's always that sense of I am being held. I'm not alone in this. And that, I think that for me is one of the big pluses for this yoga, is that sense of safety and purpose. It literally gives you the ability to be able to say, but I am more than I thought I was before, you know, and that grows, and that never fades. It's extraordinary.
I am, yeah, in some ways held, no? Yeah. Wow, Atma. Beautifully put, hey.
Beautiful. So Satnam, anyone else have anything to add? I think
you know, I
that
think
is good.
If there's any doubt in anybody's mind as to whether they should or shouldn't embark in this training, I think it is giving anybody, no matter what your circumstances are, the opportunity to actually be a hugely more expanded person in every way, you know. It's a built-in support system that's always there, always in your heart. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to be and honored to be part of the teaching team. I'm really looking.
And what you say, Atma, that applies to whether a person ends up teaching or not. You know, sometimes we don't teach right away, but it lands in a good germination place. Yeah, within ourselves.